Hello YouTube, it is your boy B3 back with another kicking graphic novel review. As promised, I have another Venom review today. And it's a Venom book that I have been very excited to read. When it came out, I immediately caught up on all my 2016 Venom run because I had to read this run. It's the first volume of 2018 Venom. Venom Volume 1, Rex. Oh, I accidentally just popped... okay. Popped someone's head off. But yeah, this Venom book might be the best Venom book I've ever read. And I've read pretty much every modern Venom book. I loved this book. Oh, okay, let me read you the back of the book. Beneath the streets of New York, an ancient and primordial evil has been awakened. With it, something equally evil has been awakened. In the most wicked of web-slingers, Venom. The symbiote may still be a lethal protector of innocence in New York, but this never-before-seen threat could possibly force Venom to relinquish everything it holds dear, including its human host, Eddie Brock. As Eddie and Venom summon the strength to defend New York against the most powerful foe they've ever faced, there's one more thing standing in their way. Miles Morales. Spider-Man. Two of the hottest creators in comics today, Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, joined forces to put Venom through a nightmare 1,000 years in the making. So lots of the time, when you're reading the back of a book like this, and it says the most powerful foe they've ever faced, it's often an exaggeration to get you to read the book. That is not the case for this book. This book, Venom fights a god. By the way, it collects Venom 2018, number 1 through 6 by Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, J.P. Mayer, and Frank Martin. But this book is brutal. So, Venom's having some control issues, which is weird because right at the end of Venom Volume 4, which is the book before this one, he and the symbiote maintained the perfect balance. They just got control back. He was cured of the illness that was making the symbiote go out of control, and everything was fine. And now the symbiote's suddenly out of control again? But the symbiote was like growing all these red veins in this red spiral face, and the red dragon appeared on its chest instead of the white spider, and it was like, yo, what the fuck is that? And then this guy who apparently symbiotes have been on Earth a long fucking time, like since the goddamn Vikings. You know Grendel from the Beowulf story? Apparently the villains in the Beowulf story were symbiotes. Insane. So, as it turns out, this government military operation bonded symbiotes to soldiers for a Black Ops group decades ago. One of them is still free, gets Venom to help him bust the other symbiotes out of the government freezer, so to speak. They bust them out, and then they all attack Venom because they're also going crazy. But then they all get eaten by a giant symbiote dragon called Grendel. A giant symbiote dragon. Venom and Miles fight it. They actually beat it with Miles' full power Venom Blast. Neither of them could have beat it by themselves, but it was pretty crazy. And then Null, god of the symbiotes, emerges from the fucking corpse. And he's like, hey, what'd it do? I'm the symbiote god. And he wove an entire new mythology for the symbiotes. Every single thing we knew about the symbiotes was wrong. Apparently there were hints to this in the Thor book recently. With the sword and etc. But Null, like the Celestials came to life and filled his void of darkness with life and light. And he didn't like that. So he forged a living sword to slaughter them with. And that sword eventually spawned off many symbiotes, and he was using these symbiotes to control things in the hive mind. But then eventually the symbiotes, after bonding with many other races across the galaxy and stuff, learned compassion, and they learned about good, and they learned about light. And so they decided to lock Null away in the center of their planet. So the planet Clintar, that the symbiotes are from, is not a planet at all, but actually a giant mass of symbiotes that's being used to keep Null locked away. and the symbiotes that were on Earth decades ago are actually all parts of Grendel, and if he can unite all of them with Grendel again, then he can break free of the prison and be free in the universe once again. He's absorbed all but one. The one Rex has. And it turns out Rex doesn't even exist. Rex died, and the symbiote has been masquerading as him for years. Yeah, which explains why Rex knew way more about symbiotes than Eddie, because Rex is a symbiote. And then Null tries to burn the light out of the Venom symbiote so that it can return to hive mind and return under his control. And the Venom symbiote becomes part of the hive mind briefly, but is broken away by Miles Morales' Venom blast in time before he is completely taken over. So then, when he rebonds with Eddie, Venom gets a bunch of new powers. Flight. The symbiote can control all the body levels, all the like chemicals and stuff in Eddie's body more efficiently. They can fucking communicate telepathically with other symbiotes now. Bunch of new powers. And they're powers that are super believable, that you would even think they had. Because it's not unconceivable that a symbiote could morph itself into wings and fly. That's not unconceivable. We already knew that it manipulated his body in many ways. Now it can just manipulate him in better, more efficient ways. Now that we know about the hive mind, telepathically communicating with other symbiotes, that makes 100% sense. All the new powers make sense. But they were unable to beat Null before because it was actually just like a puppet of Null that looked like his body. Because once again, the real Null is in the planet Clintar, inside the planet Clintar. The Clintar is actually that species word for cage or prison. So it's not actually the name of their planet or their species. So he arises again to go absorb the Rex symbiote, which has also fused with Eddie's Venom symbiote, and they also had a bunch of anti-symbiote weaponry that they absorbed into their symbiote to have this mass, like, super combat Venom. They fought and beat Grendel, and they also fought and beat Null. The way they beat Null was they allowed him to think that he was absorbing Rex, and then Rex pulled Null into a furnace, and Eddie held the furnace shut, but so much heat was coming off the furnace that the Venom symbiote couldn't handle it and had to remove itself from Eddie. So Eddie was getting burned and stuff, so the Venom symbiote like went in him and tried to dull the pain, tried to turn off his pain sensors, but there was so much pain he couldn't block it all. So Eddie's like on fire, burning to death. The symbiote is burning to death, and at the end, Eddie and the symbiote both collapse, and it really seems like the symbiote might be dead. No, that's where it ends. More than likely, the symbiote is not dead. It will be revived in some way, or maybe Eddie will wear the symbiote's most recent spawn that is at Alchemax. We don't know. That would be cool too, but I would prefer the regular symbiote to just come back, which is probably exactly what'll happen, you know. But what a fantastic book. Venom Volume 1 Rex from the 2018 run. So good. Volume 2 cannot come fast enough. It absolutely cannot come fast enough. This was so good. It was so good. So that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below. Facebook, Twitter, etc. Support us on Patreon so we can bring you more great content, better, faster, stronger. And I'll see y'all later.